Hello everyone, welcome back to Garden Fever, and today I'm going to do part 2 of clay pots versus plastic pots. I need to kind of hurry. It's going to rain this morning and I was debating whether or not I should do this or not, but I decided to go ahead and do it. So we'll be real quick on this one. Last video we talked about some of the pros and cons to clay pots, and then today let's talk about pros and cons to plastics. Okay, plastics, the pros to them is, well, for one, they come in a variety of color. Here, I can show you. I got my bunching onions in here. They're also lightweight, unlike some of the clay and ceramic and terracotta pots. They also come in every color. So yesterday I mentioned about finding a gray color to kind of absorb sunlight in the winter and then kind of reflect sunlight in the summer. That's easy to do with plastic pots because they come in a wide range of colors, and that makes it. It's gonna rain on us, so let's hurry. Anyway, they last longer too. I've noticed that with all my plastic pots, they tend to last longer than the clay ones, especially indoors. I've got plants growing in pots from indoors that I've had plants since I first started growing plants, like for 20 years. And even indoors with the clay and the terracotta pots over time, even though they do last longer than when they are left outside, they still get brittle. They still start to collect salt and chip away. And if the tray underneath, if it ever is clay, it starts to break and leak. So, and I don't get that with the plastics. There is some concern that the plastics, over time, some of the plastic material can seep chemicals into the soil. I believe that was true in the beginning, and I think it could be true with some of the super cheap plastic pots. If you invest in decent plastic pots, though, most companies these days are starting to be more environmentally conscious. They can be recycled, and they're not so environmentally unfriendly these days. So that's kind of was back in the day, but it's leaning towards more of an environmentally conscious industry, if you will. They hold moisture better. So for plants that you're wanting to grow where they require more moisture, plastic pots are real good about that. However, plants like cactuses and things like that, they might not do as well, because they do contain that moisture better. So if you're trying to conserve water and keep more water towards the root zone, plastic pots are good for that. This one is kind of a light gray, this one. I don't have a whole lot growing right now. It's still kind of early spring. But if you notice, I got an Oya in there. So when it heats up, I just put water in my Oya, and that kind of circumvents that. And in the winter, because they're thinner, they're more exposed to the elements. So what I do is I put them on my south-facing wall, and then I'll put a black plastic bag and tie them around to kind of insulate it and be kind of like a solar conductor. And it does pretty good. I've been able to overwinter certain plants that in the ground I wasn't able to. Like this one, I don't know if you can see it. This one's black. That one gets pretty hot. So I'm going to put an Oya on that this year. I got some spinach started. Utah weather's kind of funny. We get kind of warm and then it gets really cold and then warm. We're not quite in the warm temperatures yet, so I can't grow tomatoes and peppers and some of the good vegetables. So we're just starting with some of the colder sides, but eventually we're going to start moving along here. We're getting close. So anyway, I think that about does it for plastics. I guess overall, in my personal opinion, I do like the plastics better. I understand some of the environmental concerns. For example, they will eventually get brittle in the sun and they will chip. And that's one thing that I like better about clay pots is the little chips, if they get into your soil, it's not really a big deal. But if they're plastics, I'm still slightly uncertain about it. They don't decompose, they don't break down. So, but I've noticed that my plastic containers, like this one, I haven't had this one too long, but I've had some. I think this one's been about 3 or 4 years, and it's showing no signs of chipping or breaking. Where I've had clay pots after one winter, the next summer they start to chip and they start to. So overall, I am leaning towards plastic pots, simply to save money and for longevity. I think they last longer. And even though they are thinner, they can contain the moisture better. When you're in a container gardening type situation, they're up out of the ground, they dry out quicker, they get cold quicker, and I just don't think that it's enough to circumvent me from getting them. You know, and as far as the cold, which I do agree that they get colder easier than the clay pots, but I think wrapping a black plastic bag right before it snows, putting it up against the south-facing wall is working. It's adding an extra layer of solar heat and insulation to the root zone, and they're surviving winter because of it. So in my opinion, I think that you should go for the plastic pots simply for that reason. That, and you can choose whatever color you want to match your house or whatever. I personally am leaning towards these grays. I'm thinking that's the better way to go. Now, don't get me wrong, I think that some of the clay work out there is absolutely artistic and beautiful. If you can find some high quality clay that's maybe partially glazed, I think it would be fine to do that. Just understand that they are going to eventually wear faster than the plastic pots. But anyway, thanks for joining. For all of you that are new, thanks for joining Garden Fever. Like, subscribe, comment, share, all that stuff that YouTubers like. And I'll be back for more episodes. And happy gardening. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments or email me. I'm always willing to give my advice. And if you know anything that I have not shared, please communicate. Knowledge is power. And it's I think with big companies and big government institutions, they want us to do things a certain way for monetary reasons. And I think that some of the knowledge is getting lost. The true gardening and true plant-based knowledge is getting lost in history, and it's going to be up to us doing things like YouTube and communicating with each other in order for us to get that knowledge out there. So please join us if you're new. Anyway, it's starting to rain, and I don't want to ruin my camera. So till next time.